I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're hearing the extraordinary true story of building success, letting go, and finding purpose beyond power. We're talking about an amazing book. It is called From Dawn to Dusk, How to Build a Multi-Million-Dollar Law Practice and Then Give It Away. It's written by a terrific author and an attorney, Douglas Wood. And in the book, he shares insider secrets to building a thriving legal career and how he chose a path of fulfillment over fortune. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. And be sure to download the Spotlight Network TV app streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Douglas, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thanks for having me.
Why would you build a big practice and then just give it away? It seems counterintuitive, but it seems like you wanted more out of life.
Well, I think it's a combination of things. One, whether we like it or not, as harsh as this may sound, we all eventually reach our use-by date. And in the legal profession, it's hard to recognize that because we don't do anything physical. But basically just a mental exercise that you go through each day. But as you get older, your mental facilities do diminish a bit here and there. And your clients get increasingly older to the point where the people who start taking over the businesses that you have tend to be younger and want to work with their peers. So lawyers rarely get their arms around the idea that it's time to eventually go. And when I ran law firms and was in the profession for so long, I saw too many sad stories where I'd walk into the office and I'd see a lawyer who was in his late 70s, 80s, even older, who was just lost sitting at their desk and had nothing to do. And it was just a sad story. And I decided that that wasn't going to be me. So I worked very hard for many, many years, built a very substantial practice, and then decided one day, as I talk about the reasons, some other reasons for it in the book, I decided that, now is the time to start planning it. And the key to it, and so the reason I embraced it was that I didn't want to have someone walk in and tell me it's your use-by date, Doug, get out. I wanted to control that destiny to some extent. And I did the same discipline I did to build a large practice through business planning, the same kind of as old as dirt kind of stuff. And I planned out my demise. I planned out leaving. And it worked out very well. It took about 7 years in total from the beginning of the process to the end. So I started when I was 68 and ended when I formally, completely left the practice when I was 74. So it was a long process, but it was, just basically a recognition that there's more in life than old lawyers dying at their desks. That just wasn't going to be me.
Exactly. There's more to life than writs and torts, no doubt. And you want to enjoy your life while it's still here. Because we all have a shelf life. We just don't know what the date.
There you go. That's it. That's exactly it, Logan.
A lot of people don't realize that many lawyers struggle, that there's a lot of lawyers out there, and you equate always a lawyer to making a lot of money. Some do, and some have very successful practices like yours. Others struggle. What would your advice be to that lawyer who is struggling to build his practice, who isn't at the expiration date yet?
The expiration. We should have on our forehead some kind of thing that says that. Here's the thing that I always found fascinating about lawyers in managing them for all the years that I did. They are terrific people at planning out a case, planning out the strategy of a contract, of a litigation, whatever it is. They represent their clients. They do it very diligently. They write it down. They plan it out. They do a great job for their clients. They do a lousy job for themselves. They never actually plan their businesses the way a good business person would do so. I mean, if you go to any business school, whether it's Stanford or Harvard or any great business school anywhere in the world, they teach you about adopting written business plans in order to succeed in whatever your business is. And that includes an analysis of your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats, establishing goals, as many tactics as you possibly can to achieve those goals. And that is the road to success. There have been lots of studies done about that at every business school you can imagine. Lawyers don't do that. They just don't do that. Whether their ego is too much that they don't think that they have to lower themselves to planning like a good common sense business person would do, or they just don't have any time for it because they're totally immersed into dealing with their clients' problems and challenges. So they never plan. And by the time they get to a point in their career where they suddenly realize they're doing more work than they are production in terms of new business and building a practice, it's probably too late. They didn't plan soon enough. So the discipline that I tried to instill in all the lawyers that work for me was to do the very simple thing of written business planning, just 101 stuff. Start early, start young in your practice, and over time, if you keep to that discipline, you will succeed. There's just no question about it. As opposed to just hoping, luckily, I'll do a good job in a case and people are going to knock down my door, or I'm going to inherit it because there's an older lawyer who's going to leave and give me their practice. That can sometimes work, but that only works for the very few. If you want to have a practice, or any, this is true in any business, Logan, it's not law per se. It's just the lawyers don't apply those same principles.
Yeah.
They don't have plans. They don't have tactics. They just kind of go by the seat of their pants and hope that it'll work out. So that's the planning in terms of the first half when you're still young and still ready to go and trying to establish what you want to do. Get a written business plan, follow it through, be disciplined with it year after year, and you will succeed. I did anyway.
Yep. With your Exodus plan, was there something waiting for you at the end? Did you transition to another aspect of your life or career, or did you simply retire?
No, well, that's a great question because retirement is kind of a bad word, when you think about it, because a lot of people think that when I retire, I guess I go out into the countryside and I have some cocktails at 5 o'clock at night and don't do anything during the day. If that's what you want, great.
Right.
But that's why you have to do it over time. And I suggest the way I did it, where you found other diversions, you found other things to do, including the nice thing about being a lawyer and having where you're not physically, need any facilities, is you can still use your brain. I went into mentoring, I went into lecturing. I did some other things that kept my brain going outside the context of representing clients. And I took up, outside activities like golf at 70. Where the golf pro asked me the first day, what do you want to work on? And I said, everything. I've never done this. And he says, you're taking up golf at 70? And I go, yeah, why not? And he goes,
Exactly.
well, okay, I'll try to teach you what I can, but you'll never be any good. So I said to him, if you're a motivational speaker, you're doing a really bad job.
Exactly.
But he was right. I'm never going to be any good. But to answer your question, Logan, you can't just look at it that, I'm going to retire. You got to plan for it. You got to have your diversions, the other things you're going to do. Your brain doesn't shut down. Your body doesn't shut down. There's no reason. It may be over with respect to the practice you had in the law firm or the lawyers you worked with. That you may be done with that, but that doesn't mean you're done with life.
Yeah, and your body doesn't shut down and your mind doesn't shut down, hopefully, but doing nothing will absolutely accelerate that process of your mind shutting down.
For sure.
And your body shutting down, because doing nothing is overrated. We weren't put on this globe to do nothing. We might not want to be in the high intense career that we were in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, but certainly by 70s, you want to be doing something, staying in the game, and finding other outlets for your creative energy like you have.
I mean, you hit it right on the head. I mean, one of the saddest things you ever see is someone who has got, they retired, they're done with their business for whatever reason, and they just have nothing to do.
Yeah.
And they have no pursuits, and it's a sad sight.
Hey,
and
you
it's
got
so
nothing to
unnecessary.
say, nothing to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, how many
so
times a day can
unnecessary.
you wash your car?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because that's probably that ought to be the litmus test. That's the question you ask somebody retiring. How many times do you wash your car every month? And if it's over 3, then you got a problem.
Exactly. If you're squeezing in time to get it to the car wash, that might be
There
a
you
good
go.
thing.
There
Talk
you
to
go.
us a little bit about your writing career. This isn't your only book. You have multiple books out there. Talk to us about some of the works that you're very proud of.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the ones that I love writing most of these are fictional novels, usually thrillers, where I get to sort of invent the characters and they go through sort of like the kind of Ludlum Clancy kind of environments with a little bit of Grisham thrown in there because I'm a lawyer, and so it's these fictional characters and it's a lot of fun to do it because you're creating from scratch and stuff like that. And you can use people's name that you don't like and kill them in your books. And so it's a very cathartic thing to do if you want to. But no, I've written 7 fictional novels. They range from sort of some sci-fi stuff to artificial intelligence stuff to just profiling of serial killers and They run kind of the gamut, but they're very enjoyable to do. It's one of my. Well, I'm very lucky that that's one of the diversions I have and that I developed early on many years ago because I just like creative writing. So I pursue that, and my publisher told me a number of years ago that because I had a kind of a colorful career as a lawyer, that I needed to write needed to write some memoirs. And I said, no one's going to want to read that. And no, you can write. So I wrote a book. The first memoir was called Asshole Attorney, which may be a little redundant to some of your viewers. But anyway, so that was the first book that I talked about my career. Then she said when I was retiring, she said, you got to write about this now. So I said, okay, I'll write about this now. And that's what gave birth to From Dawn to Dusk. So it's been a great body of work that I've been privileged to make and create and hope that people enjoy it. There's nothing more rewarding as an author than, you're out either on the beach, you're at a pool, you're somewhere where people are reading, and you walk along and you see your book in somebody's hands. I mean, that is the most rewarding thing that an author can have, in my view, other than I guess a motion picture, which hasn't happened to me. But I have run into folks in random reading some of my books, and that's really terrific. And again, it's all about the emotional connections you can have with doing things other than what you necessarily do for your day-to-day work. And that, I don't mean to sound, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't have the pedigree to make this an official sort of diagnosis for people. But the sadness I see so often is people who are completely immersed in their work, and they're proud of the fact that they work 80 hours a week and do all this stuff. And I just want to shake my head. Say, that's not going to last, pal.
Right.
And if you have that approach to things, then God bless you. But you're going to find yourself alone much sooner than you think.
Exactly. And like many people have said over the course of time, nobody said on their deathbed, I wish I spent more time at work. So
Exactly. So then why, Logan, do people say, why do people then in their day-to-day lives speak so proudly about how they work their butts off and work 80 hours a week? You're right. Next time someone says it to me, I'm going to ask them, what do you think your last words are going to be on your deathbed?
Yeah, I wish I'd spent more time at work. Yeah, I think a part of it's ego, that you've built this
Sure.
successful business. There is a joy in getting immersed and lost in your work. It is a creative process, and there is a thrill to that. But I think life balance is very, very important. I try to seek it with my own career. Not so much when I was younger, more so now that I'm older.
Sure.
So I think you and I are on the same page, quite literally, when it comes to your book. Before we leave you today, let me ask you this: what do you hope readers take away from your book?
That you have the ability to plan your destiny, whether it's when you start out as a new business person or when you're going to find time to let it go and move on with your life. That it's all in your hands. If you take control of it and you plan for it, and you follow the discipline that is used countless times by successful people, both in entering and leaving whatever their profession is, you will succeed at it. So one message I want people to come out of this book is plan for yourself, take control of your destiny. Don't let other people jam it down your throat.
Wonderful, great advice. The name of the book, From Dawn to Dusk: How to Build a Multi-Million-Dollar Law Practice and Then Give It Away. In it, Douglas shares his insider secrets to building a thriving legal career and how he chose a path of fulfillment over fortune. With equal parts of humor, honesty, and hard-earned wisdom, this author offers a roadmap for both new attorneys and seasoned professionals ready for life's next chapter. Doug, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight. I appreciate your time. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.